Bourbon, Broncos, and No BS. Fans, brews, and Broncos news.
Good evening, Broncos Country. Welcome to another edition of Bourbon, Broncos, and No BS. And I don't know about you guys, I'm not much of a dancer, but as of today, I am learning the Waddle because I have a feeling I'm going to be doing a lot of it this year as Waddle is scoring a lot of touchdowns in a Denver Broncos jersey. And it's going to be beautiful. I got Adam, I got David. We might have another appearance from another co-host or so, depending on what they're doing, if they think we're important enough. But either way, it's going to be a fantastic show because, oh, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
You are coming in a little quieter, but we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, I'm partying, I'm celebrating, and it's going to be a good show, not just because we're here, but because you guys are here. And it's going to be a fantastic conversation, and I want to hear what you guys have to say about this Broncos trade. Getting Jaylen Waddle over from the Miami Dolphins in exchange for some trade picks. We didn't have to give up a player ourselves. We just gave up some draft capital. And while one team is tanking, the other team is on the up and up, and the Denver Broncos are on the up and up. So let's start with Adam. Sir, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I thought we were going to talk Lucas Kroll re-signing with the team. It was a little dicey for a second because he didn't get his tender. And so I thought that the Lucas Kroll fan club, of which I am the CEO, CFO, chaplain, and marketing team director, was going to go by the wayside. But that changed when he did resign. However, some other thing happened today, of which I think we traded for somebody. Apparently he's okay, I guess. But I guess we could talk about that, all joking aside, for everybody who's been belly aching and everybody who's been whining, yes, I'm talking about myself, who about the Broncos not making a move, going out and getting a premier wide receiver like a Jaylen Waddle, is that the thing that I've been clamoring for since last season, getting a proven playmaker to pair with Courtland Sutton on the other side of the ball is, I think, is going to do nothing but positives for this Denver Broncos team. I am so excited to see Bo Nix slinging the rock around to everybody in Mile High, come 2026. But I'm excited. David, what do you think, man?
I mean, it's just it's the thing I keep coming back to about it, guys, is we haven't been active in free agency. Obviously, we've and anytime you've logged into any kind of Broncos talk over the last week, that's become painfully apparent. But the Broncos, I saw James Palmer talk about this. I saw other reporters talk about this. The Broncos internally feel like they got a player who's never going to hit free agency. They got the type of player who's never going to be a free agent in this league. And that is, to me, more important than being active in free agency. And it's more important to me that the Broncos got an established playmaker that can help their offense now in the window that they're in than they picked number 30 in the NFL draft this year. I am over the moon about this. Jerry, how you doing? Go team puffball and go Broncos every single day of the week, my friend. And no, Gary, this is I'm trotting out an oldie but a goodie today. Actually, this one I need to sew a few holes in it, but it's doing all right still. Anyway, guys, super pumped to have Jaylen Waddle on the team. Really excited to talk with you guys about what he does for our offense, because the more talking heads and guys who watch a lot of tape that I see talk about this trade, the more excited I am about it. The more that Jaylen Waddle fits exactly what this offense has needed. And specifically, and Kev, I'll start with you on this one. It feels like Jaylen Waddle is going to add something. I don't want to use the J word. I'm not going to say Joker, because it was a tired trope about 10 minutes into last offseason, and it never led anywhere. And So I'm leaving that one behind. But what he does do is he gives you a player who is elite over the middle of the field, elite with the ball in his hands. He is somebody that we have tried to get in aggregate. We've tried to use Marvin Mims to do some of the things they need this player to do. They've tried to get Evan Ingram to do some of the things they need this player to do in the offense. They tried to get RJ Harvey to do some of these things that they need this kind of player to do in the offense, and they just haven't had it. And Jaylen Waddle is all of it at once, and that's his skill set. I mean, that skill set, he's one of the top 5 players in the league with it. It's going to be an absolutely transformational piece for our offense, Kev.
When you have somebody like Bo Nix, I totally agree, man. Bo Nix, look what he's done in the first 2 years. And again, I still do not believe that he's hit his ceiling. I believe there's more to go, more for him to improve on. And you just look at, if that's the case, wow, like Bo Nix is going to have a hell of a career. And we're only 2 years into this Bo Nix experience. You add somebody like Jaylen Waddle to the team as a threat. We've talked about a number of times over the last year, the middle of the field not being worked very well, trying all these different pieces like you were pointing out there, none of them working out. You get a guy like this that he brings some fire to the team. He brings an honest, actual threat to the team.
Yes.
And it's going to alleviate some of that stress on these other players. It's going to alleviate some of the stress on Courtland Sutton. Teams are not going to be able to just pinpoint him and shut him down and say, okay, now who are you going to throw to, right? You got 2 big players that you're going to have to worry about. Oh, and you still got Pat Bryant. Oh, and you still got Marvin Mims. Oh, and you still got Troy Franklin, who's still coming up. And hopefully will show this year that he's really made strides. You get these guys, and then Evan Ingram. We've been talking about how he was underutilized or basically not utilized at all last year. They figure out with new play calling in there, how to utilize him effectively. You've got real weapons on this team.
Well, and that's even if you don't get Evan Ingram really going again, that's mitigated quite a bit by what Jaylen Waddle will bring to you on the field. So either way.
But if there's a way to do that, you're just creating more of a problem for these defensive coordinators that we're going to face this year. To figure out how are we going to stop these guys? How are we going to stop Bo Nix and his legs? How are we going to stop these wide receivers? We got J.K. Dobbins back, who I want him to be healthy for the whole damn season, right? And if you can keep him healthy, man, we've seen what he can do. And so he's going to step right back on this field this year, and I don't doubt that he's going to have anything less than 5 yards a carry like we saw this last season. So I get it, and I was right there with you. Adam pointed out I was also hooting, hollering about, no moves from the Broncos. And this, honestly, it's like, what am I going to make a video about today? Because nothing's going on. I guess I'll make another video about how we still haven't done anything. But we don't need to get 3 or 4 or 5 free agent signings when we can get one really good trade like this for a player of this kind of caliber. Oh, and it was just looking at some of the cap hit statistics came out about this trade. We're only going to be paying $4.9 million his first year here in Denver. Yeah, it does go up from there, but in this first year at least, holy crap, we're getting Jaylen Waddle for only 4.9. So that means we still have plenty of cap space. We didn't break the bank for this guy. So there's still options available for this team. So to me, this is a 10 out of 10 trade.
Yeah, sorry, Kev. I didn't mean to step on you there. And Adam, I'm about to throw it to you. But I wanted to say one quick thing about the money. Yeah, it balloons a contract to like $26 million in the final 2 years of the contract. Overall, it's a 3-year, like $60-odd million contract, which is just not bad. It's as far as the going rate for a top quality NFL wide receiver in this league, it's not bad. It's not top of the market even. And the Broncos get that trade. They get 3 years of control of Jaylen Waddle now. And the salary cap is going to continue to increase, guys. The NFL is already renegotiating TV deals that weren't supposed to end until 2029. They're talking about getting $1 billion more per season from just CBS. They're going to go to all their other partners and get more money too. So the salary cap will continue to increase the way it has been increasing the last few years, and that contract is going to take up become less and less of a burden because of that. Adam, I want to talk to you. I want to ask you about the team fit and the culture fit. Because David's comment here, how will he fit into the locker room? I actually got a chance to see a Miami Herald reporter talk a little bit about Jaylen Waddle and how he was one of his favorite players to cover on the team, how he had a real team first attitude, how, he cited a story about how there was all this chatter about without Tyreek Hill in the lineup, at a certain point when Tyreek was out, could he be a number one wide receiver, Jaylen Waddle? He didn't try to talk back to the media. He didn't run away from the questions either. And then when he went out and performed afterward, he performed really well afterward. He didn't go to the media and say, that's who I always was. And when asked why he didn't do that, he says, that's not the guy I am. And so, I don't know, that seems exactly to me like the Sean Payton kind of guy, the Sean Payton culture fit that we're looking for on this team. What do you think, Adam?
I think that's absolutely lines up with, especially when you see that they brought so many of the guys back from last season. And with bringing everybody back from last season, one of the things that almost everybody to a man pointed out about last year's team was the camaraderie and the chemistry and the locker room dynamic that they already had. So I already thought, just based on his attitude, that for as much chatter as there was about AJ Brown having interest here, we having interest in AJ Brown, that was just not gonna happen. I mean, if you look up cancer in the dictionary, there probably is a picture of AJ Brown. I don't know if it's in his Tennessee Titan gear or his Philadelphia Eagles gear. I don't know. But I don't think Denver would make a move unless they could get a guy to acclimate to the locker room as well. So, I don't know too much about Jaylen Waddle's background, but just hearing that people in the know already speak to the kind of character that he has already tells me that this is on another level, that this is a really good trade. Although, are we gonna see like some sparring matches between him and PS2 in the locker room? Are they gonna are they gonna put it on pay-per-view? I'll plug down some money for it if that's the case. But
if you were paying attention to PS2's social media today at Broncos Country, I think you will see that was a little bit of a fun between the two of them. Very, very close friends. I think we can expect that to remain. Although I don't know, summer camp or training camp gets hot.
Exactly.
Training camp gets hot out there.
It gets spicy.
Yeah.
I think when you watch those two line up during training camp, they're both going to be trying to get the one up on each other. And iron sharpens iron, right? Like this,
Exactly.
It's only going to make both of them even better. But it's going to be fun. I don't know if anything will come to blows. You do see an occasional fight during the preseason or, during training camp and stuff. However, I think these guys, culture is the name of the game, guys. It was Sean Payton's biggest challenge, biggest thing that he needed to fix when he came into the building. And this is a move that if you've heard any of the pundits talking about today, this isn't something they just picked up the phone this morning and went, hey, let's make this happen. This has been talked about for the last 10 plus days. So they've had plenty of time to consider it, think about it, really sleep on it. Is this the right move for us? And I'll just tell you what, seeing the Dolphins fans' reactions tells me even more that this is a good move because they recognize what kind of player they're losing. And if that means that's the kind of player we're gaining, dude, freaking win across the board, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see. I know we were talking in the group chat, and I want to kind of bring this up because others might be wondering the same thing. And I know the answer from you guys, but just to have the conversation, what could this do in terms of trade bait from the other wide receivers we have? Marvin Mims, Trey Franklin, especially those two names right there. Pat Bryant, I think, is safe. Look, he only had one drop all last year. If you're talking about a wide receiver to keep, it's him, right? Right. We need to make sure that whatever he's doing to catch the ball, everyone else needs to start doing. But I think those two names in particular are ones that people might start be throwing around there. But what do you guys foresee in that? And I mean, the wide receiver room is kind of heavy loaded on that side, right? So is there a potential? What would you want to see if there was a kind of a trade there? And yeah, just take it away. Adam, we'll start with you, man.
For me, and I don't have anything to base this on. I know that there were some discussions, I guess preliminary talks about maybe extending Marvin Mims next season. And I honestly think that probably maybe gets put on hold now that you have Waddle in the fold. I think if there's a guy that's maybe been a little bit miscast and gives you glimpses of the type of game breaker that he could be, but just can't consistently put it together, it's Marvin Mims. Troy Franklin is kind of projects as a number 2 receiver. I love Patty B. I think the guy is if he could just play the slot, I think he would be a perfect complement in this offense, mostly due to the fact that he is a first down machine and he doesn't drop anything. And I love his dynamic. Not dynamic, but intangibles. He's a great perimeter blocker. He seems like a really good character guy, but man, I mean, Marv just doesn't ever seem like he gives you a big moment here and there, and then he disappears for games, stretches at a time. And so I know that he's been our best deep threat, but now that I think you have a more proven and consistent deep threat in Jaylen Waddle, I don't know where his role is on the team now. And maybe he's just strictly used as a gadget guy, special teams guy. I mean, I'd be interested to hear David what do you think of the 3 receivers outside of Courtland Sutton and Jaylen Waddle, who do you think is going to be the guy that's going to be, left out in the cold, metaphorically?
Well, I think it's going to be, I can't see it being Mims just because of that elite return ability that he has. It's just such a weapon that even if that's really the most that he contributes to the team, I think it's so that, I think the smart coaches in the NFL know what field position battles mean, and it's why Sean Payton spent a 6th round pick on the punter with the biggest leg in last year's draft. And it's also why I think they've prioritized keeping Marvin Mims healthy enough to return kicks. But to me, the odd man out is going to be Troy Franklin. And it's not really even so much anything that Troy Franklin did. I know he still struggles a little bit with the consistency you want to see, but he's got that. We have to remember he was a 4th round pick. He jumped up to like 750 yards receiving last year. And it's to me, he's just he doesn't have the inside outside versatility that Waddle has or that Pat Bryant has. So to me, with Franklin, you're looking at a guy who can really only do one thing if he's on the field, play the outside receiver. He's got all these traits. He's really, really fast. It's just no matter how much the coaching staff loves this room, and I believe they do love the room, it's just somebody's going to lose snaps. And I think it's just probably going to be Franklin because Waddle gives you most of the things that Franklin gives you and a bunch of stuff that Franklin doesn't give you. Everybody's saying Humphrey or Bandy. Guys, I understand where you're coming from, but Lil Jordan Humphrey was never going to be that player for the team this year. He wasn't that player for the Broncos last year when they had injuries at wide receiver. He was at best going to be your wide receiver 5. And probably more than likely a guy who they end up cutting and signing to the practice squad, just like they did last year, to see if they can gamble on stashing him away there. These are more going to be just depth guys than anything else. The true test, I think, Kevin, is going to be, is it like Adam was saying, is it going to be Mims that loses playing time? Is it going to be Franklin? It's going to be, I think, come down to those 2 players.
And you're going to have to wait and see during training camp. I think that's a big part of it, is who's going to step up. Right, who's going to step up during these preseason games and early on in the season? Who's going to show that they can be reliable? Yep. That is such a huge piece, because if there's one thing from the receiver core, and you could say tight ends and running backs too in the catching game, was all those dropped passes. And yes, there's a whole nother conversation about how well the balls were thrown and stuff like that. I'm going to assume in this case that Bo Nix is going to improve. right? And going into his third year, and a lot of these will be even more catchable balls, right? But regardless, we need to find a way that when the ball hits the receiver in the hand, that they catch it. And so who are going to be the just the reliable guys? And that's, I said it, we talked about it last year. We talked about the depth of the team. It's good to have players that have been around here for a while. So even if they're not getting a lot of playing time, it's good to know that when/if somebody gets hurt, right, we have somebody in the wings ready to step up that we can count on. And man, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because the play calling, I think, it's going to be the same game plan, right? It's still a Sean Payton system, but having a new offensive coordinator, you know, in the rising there and in the wings, things are going to look different. And I think if you get some more creativity in there and you find a way to kind of keep spreading the ball around, there's just so much upside to this team. And a couple of pundits today were saying, it looks like the Broncos could be the number one, you know, your pick for the number one team again in the AFC. Man, like here we are in March already thinking about the Broncos kind of, again, just running it back from last season. So this is going to be really interesting to see what happens. Yeah, we're not going to use my nose hair for any reason, Gary. It would not be badass in any way, shape, or form, but I appreciate thinking outside the box there.
It would be bad and ass, but maybe not
together
at the same time. Not at the same time.
Chris says, can't wait to see what happens between Waddle and PS2 situation going on. We kind of talked. It's going to be interesting to see how they jar against each other in training camp and whatnot. But it's just so good to see that the Broncos got somebody that isn't just talented in the way that Jaylen Waddle is, but the personality that he brings into this locker room and keeping this team moving forward. Sean says, think Bryant will be the guy to give Sutton Waddle a break, and Mims and Franklin will be on a rotation, have their own situational packages. That's a great idea, right? Because we're talking about throwing as much as we can at the these opposing defensive coordinators. And dude, I'll be honest, you know, I think before today I was looking at we don't have the actual schedule, just the Broncos opponents, and I was thinking like maybe we could get to 11 wins, you know, right? But with this, I'm back to 13 because again, we get an offense that starts clicking and starts moving the ball and more reliably than last year.
Yeah,
like who's going to stop us? So I don't know.
It really puts Courtland Sutton in an interesting position too, because
it does.
Courtland Sutton was never the guy, you know, he can do, I guess, some over the middle stuff. Like he can run a deep post or that in breaking route if you ask him to, but a lot of times it's not his best strength. His best thing is a boundary receiver where he can go get 50-50 balls. That's what he excels at. You're putting him in a great position to do that because now you've got somebody to do kind of all the other stuff at an elite level or at a very good level. And it's really, really exciting. You can use him on sweeps out of the backfield. He's really effective at that. Yeah, it's from a fit perspective, guys, the Broncos got, I mean, I think this is a really great example of the Broncos self-scouting an offense from last year that was situation, you know, just kind of went to sleep for large portions of the game and was searching for consistency, even though they won 14 games. So yeah, or 13. I don't remember now. Isn't it weird? I already don't remember if it was 14 or 13. But you know, a good job self-scouting by the coaching staff and the front office to say, it wasn't consistent enough at times. We need a playmaker who can help us sustain drives on a more regular basis. And just Jaylen.
Oh, no. He was going to make a very good point there, guys. I guarantee it. He was going to say the most amazing thing you guys have ever heard. We'll get David back up here in a moment, as I'm sure his computer's resetting. Adam, I want to talk to you and get your take, and then we'll get the same thing from David when he comes back up. What do you think about what we traded away for Jaylen Waddle? Was it too much? Was it too little? We gave away our first, we gave away our third, and then we essentially swapped fourth round picks. As we wait for David to load back in, but talking about, did we give up too much? Did we give up too little? What's your take on the exchange we got we gave away for Jaylen Waddle? Adam, we'll start with you, man. You're muted. You're muted. Oh no.
All right, I'm tagging back.
David,
Adam.
go for it.
Yeah. We're just having all sorts of tech. It's the off season here at Orange Week.
The off season.
Sure. Anyway, I would say compensation wise, when you look at it from the perspective of a first and a third round pick, that seems like a lot. When you look at it in a little bit of a more zoomed in context of it's the 30th overall pick and the 30th pick in the third round, I think I saw somebody did the trade chart math or whatever. And it siphoned out to about the 25th or 26th pick overall that Broncos sent. And of course, they get the fourth round pick swap where they get to go, I don't know, it was like up 11 spots in the fourth round. So, yeah, it seems like a lot on paper, but guys, the Broncos really only gave up the equivalent of one late first round pick for Jaylen Waddle when you do all the math. And to me, it's worth it every time.
I was going to point out the same thing, is that when you look at it, it's not really a true number 1 and a true 3 going to Miami. This is more like a really good 2 and a really good 4 going to Miami. And we get the better 4 after swapping the pick of actually them sending their pick to us. So
right.
For a guy like Jaylen Waddle, sending a 2 and a 4, I mean, essentially, especially where and including where he's at in his contract, I mean, that's about as good as you're going to do in the NFL. So, I mean, all those three things in factor make the trade even that much better.
And let's talk about it. Like, we don't have to even dance around the fact that it was a lot of compensation, guys. Let's talk about it in the context of this is the Broncos' window to compete. You already saw a team that said we don't have a ton of holes this offseason on our roster. And I think they're right about that. I think there aren't a lot of major places that they need to upgrade immediately to be a contender. You were already in the AFC Championship game. You were a broken ankle from the Super Bowl. So you don't have to go out there and remake your defense with 6 new free agents. You don't have to overhaul your offense with 2 new offensive linemen and a tight end and a running back. You've got to make a targeted acquisition, and you have to pay the price if you want an established player in this league. But you're in the window. You're in Bo Nix's rookie contract. You are coming into a draft in 2026 where you are going to get where Jaylen Waddle is better than any player you can draft at pick 30. You also didn't give up any picks in the 2027 draft, which is a much more talent-rich draft on paper as things stand right now.
Well, and that's the thing. We've talked about the Broncos potentially moving up from 30, in the draft. And if you're going to do that, you're not only giving up this year's, the 30th round, you're giving up next year's as well, because you're not moving up 2 or 3 spots in the draft, right? You're going to move up. You're going to do it for someone big. Like 𝐁𝐴𝐴𝐴 or something. You're trying to get into the top 15, even the top 12. You're giving up this year's first, next year's first, this year's third, next year's second as well, or something ridiculous, or 2 years from now, right? You're going to be giving up a lot for a player that you don't know how they're actually going to do in the NFL, right? And I get when you get into the top 10, top 12 of the draft picks, like more often than not, those guys hit, but there's still not that you're still not certain of how that's going to end up playing out for you. But with a guy like Jaylen Waddle, you got plenty of years left on him. And his contract gets more expensive. We've talked about how that could look down the line. But look at the number of times, like this ownership group is not afraid of restructuring contracts. And they do it very well, right? They have no problem handing somebody who was it they just re-signed that they gave him like an $8 million check to walk out the door, and just as a signing bonus to kind of restructure the contract there. So when you have the owners that are not afraid of doing this and are doing it well, it's something that, man, this is something that's going to pay off for the long run. This isn't just a 1 year, 2 year, big kind of a deal. This is the next 5 years that pairing him with Bo Nix and I don't know if Cortland Sutton has 5 years left. I don't know, but we still have a very young team. And as they keep growing together, you're talking about next year's draft being very deep and very talented. You're retaining those picks. This was just a hell of a move. And I'm failing to see any kind of downside across the board.
Yeah. It's really hard to see right now where Denver has put a misstep, when it comes to this trade in particular. I know that we were all kind of bemoaning the fact that there hasn't been a whole lot of free agency moves, but this kind of makes it seem like, they go out and get a couple pieces in the draft, which is all they really needed anyway. We were talking about it in our group chat is, did we really think 9 rookies were going to make the team this year?
Yeah.
So, I mean, taking an asset and moving it to get another asset, that's great football management. I mean, you weren't going to get an ROI on those picks this year. So why don't you go send it to another team and get the return on investment that you would have gotten from that anyway? So no, I mean, kudos to George Paton for, pulling a great deal today. Great deal.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And yeah, I guess running back is still a question. All right.
Well, let me ask it to you this, because I want to get your guys' take on this. That's a very valid point. I know we were high on ETN, but out of all the running backs we were looking at in free agency this year, only ETN was drafted in the first round. And even then he was a late first round pick. All the others were second, third round picks. So how confident are we that any one of those running backs, Kenneth Walker, so on and so forth, that we would have to pay a ton of money for to get him over here, are going to do any better than a guy we draft in the second or third round of this year? I do really strongly believe we're going to draft a running back in the second or third round. But I think that, again, you go through, let's draft a guy in that position. We have J.K. Dobbins. We have R.J. Harvey coming back in his second year, expecting him to improve in that position as well. We still got McLaughlin. We still got Bidet, right? So those core guys are there. We draft someone else. It's a question. It needs to be answered. But I don't think that going through free agency to get a running back would have been the right answer, especially knowing now that we don't even have a first, right? It's good that we kind of fill the wide receiver gap. We can use that later on in the draft to get a running back. What do you think?
Well, and to me, it's like, yeah, we saw they had interest in Etienne. We don't know if they were in on Walker or not, really. That was maybe just generated by fans. I'm not entirely sure what the reporting is on that. But I think what we saw them do is say we have a deliberate target. I think that Waddle was always kind of plan A. The Waddle trade was always kind of plan A, and I think they moved through free agency with that in mind. So, yeah, they had ATN, but they knew a price they were willing to pay for him, and they knew they weren't going to go beyond that price. And when you got that a bigger offer elsewhere, that's the way it is. And so, I can see that Broncos Country may come away with the perception that they didn't try hard enough. But to me, you look at the market the way it was, you say we have interest in maybe this player and this player at this much and this much, and they just got more deals elsewhere that would have prevented you from doing the thing that you thought was best for your offense right now. I can see why they prioritize things the way that they did, even if they don't end up necessarily drafting a running back high this year.
Yeah, and I want to say that, especially with the way that the running back position just as a whole is kind of trending, more teams using running back by committee, more teams having specialized roles for their running backs. I mean, Denver kind of has that same situation. Dobbins being your first and second down back, RJ Harvey being your all-purpose back, Tyler Bidet being your receiving back. I don't know that you would necessarily want to pour, premium free agency dollars into a position where the guy's not even going to be a full-time 3-down back. So going into the draft to go get a running back, you cost control that. You can kind of groom that guy to be, to fill a certain role, whatever that may be. And that was always, what I would like the team to do. It kind of sounds like that's the direction that they're going to right now. So, I mean, that's another kind of snowball effect of what the trade is going to be. You're not necessarily going into the first round needing and looking for a game breaker on the outside. You just traded for one. So now the draft kind of sets up a little bit more so that you can have more flexibility with moving up and maybe moving down for more picks. You see a guy later on, maybe, whatever they decide to do. I think it gives you a lot more flexibility to fill the other, problem areas, I guess, that they're on the team right now.
Good points, guys. I like it. I like this comment from Sean. Wouldn't mind getting Navy's defensive tackle or running back. I'm just going to say no, because if we get someone from the Navy, Jared will just that'll be all he talks about. And so because of Jared, no, I don't think we're allowed to draft anybody from Navy. That's just my take on it. Key says Bidet always drops the ball. My come back to that is, didn't everybody else this season drop the ball? Fair point, though, Keith. Mike says, my thought with this little movement of free agency, I was thinking ownership was committed to the youth movement. I thought we had enough veterans on the team. I think you can still, Sean says you're right. I'm right every now and then. It's rare, but it happens. It happens. I don't, let me ask you this, and I'm going to steal this question from somebody else I heard asking it. Has the Broncos front office, mainly George Payton, Sean Payton, have they done enough for when they say, trust us in what we're doing, that we could just sit back and say, okay, we're going to trust you, right? What do you guys think about that? Or as we're sitting there, and it's kind of different now because we made this move, but do we have enough veteran presence? Do we need to continue to build through the youth? Like, in general, what do you guys think about those kind of topics?
What are we talking about? What? I'm sorry. Am I missing something where the Denver Broncos didn't just go 10-7 and 14-3 in back-to-back seasons?
Right.
With a mix of veteran talent and draft picks or drafted players on second contracts?
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. But that's what I'm getting at. Okay. Is yes, I think it's very clear that they have done enough.
Yeah.
So I get that it's frustrating for us to sit here and be like, oh, we've only made one move. Oh, even before today, oh, we haven't done anything. But I think it's okay for us at this point to sit back and say, look at what we've done over 2 seasons. Like, how can we sit here and say, no, we don't trust you guys? I know you go back to the Bo Nix pick, people throwing up their arms, screaming, hooting, hollering, saying, how could you make that terrible pick? These guys, I think at this point, have shown that they very clearly know what they're doing, right? And today's signing is just even more proof of that. As we talk about the further implications of what's going to have, not just for this year, but in terms of next year's draft, we didn't give up next year draft capital. We didn't lose any players in this trade. I think it just, these guys know what they're doing. And at this point, we need to step back and say, I get it's frustrating because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but we just got to trust the process at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could be upset, and I mean, Lord knows I was, about the lack of activity that we had. But I heard somebody say that if you don't draft well, you have to overpay in free agency to fill out the holes on your team. So I think it's really a testament to the front office, of the fact that they didn't have to go overpay for somebody. They didn't have to feel shanghaied to go fill a hole that they couldn't fill through the draft. And I still think that this year's team is honestly setting up to be the same way. And where they've gotten that salary cap flexibility after having the albatross that was the Russell Wilson trade and his deal, you have the flexibility because you have so many guys that were drafted. You have Miners, you have Wattenberg, you have Harvey, you have Bryant, you have Franklin, and then on the defensive side, you got this dude named Patrick certain I don't know. He seems like he's okay. And then on the other hand, you have Riley Mott. I mean, you have commodities and hard to find pieces for any NFL team. The Broncos went and drafted those guys. So it's the best way to control your team. But that's also like they used free agency in the way that you should, and that when you find a guy, it's okay to go after him. You have a Zach Allen, you have a McGlinchey, you have a Brandon Jones. So the mix on the team, I think, has actually been pretty good, all things considered.
Now, I will say, I would love for them to go out and sign Cam Jordan. And I know Spotty talked about Savion Jones a little bit ago. And frankly, I'm with him. Like, Savion Jones played well in limited snaps last year.
Yes,
and
he did.
and Q Robinson were both like, man, I would love to see more of those guys.
Ooh.
But even if Savion Jones isn't as a third-round pick at like sneaky hard position to transfer from a college to the NFL, is defensive tackle. And so I would love to see them sign Cam Jordan. I would love to see them get him in here if they can afford him, if the money works out, if he and his wife want to move here, get in the building. Kudos to JFM for getting that contract. He deserved every
Absolutely.
penny of it. We've
Absolutely.
talked about him a lot on this show. We wish nothing but the best for him. He was amazing in his time as a Bronco, and he earned that money. Go out there and kick ass for the Titans, JFM.
Except when they play us, but yes.
Well, sure, right, yeah, absolutely. Then you can pull it back a little bit. But no, I would love to see Cam Jordan get in here and just be that veteran presence for us. It would be it's such a contrast, right, guys? Right, Adam, from what Washington did last offseason, where they just put everything on older free agents like Deebo Samuel, like Von Miller, and thought, this is how we're going to get our way into a championship. This is how we're going to take the roster that got to the NFC Championship game to that next level. And you're seeing a completely different team building philosophy with the Denver Broncos. And it's how one team has sustained success and one team goes a really good job on one season and backslides the next season.
Yeah, very valid. Well, I think the and it kind of led into my question there of who do we want to go get next, right? Because I don't think we're done. We still have cap space. And I don't expect that we're going to go spend every dollar we have available in our cap space, but there are still a lot of names out there. So other than Cam there, like who else? And, maybe we go draft a new mascot on the first round. I don't know if you can do that. Nobody's ever tried. I don't know if there's a rule that says that you can't, but maybe you do. But Fravel here says, and I don't think I've seen you here before, so welcome to the show if it's your first time. No trade up for Jadarian Price. Sign Njoku. Get Cam Jordan, like you're saying, and we move 100% there. And we move now. So what do you think about that kind of situation, or just what other names are still out there that you guys are like, man, if we've got this guy specifically, other than the ones that we just mentioned, would you really like us to go try and chase down?
Well, I'm going to let Adam go real quick on who he thinks it's going to be. I'm going to go ahead and real quick and say who I think it's not going to be, and that's David Njoku. And I just – like, guys, here's the thing about David Njoku. The only dot connecting David Njoku to the Broncos, actually, as far as I know, was a tweet from the fake Mike Kliss account. Other than that, there's not been anything official to indicate that the Broncos have interest in David Njoku. It all seems to be fan-generated at this point. And today I saw David Njoku was visiting the Baltimore Ravens. So I just don't think Adam, you said it, I think earlier today. They committed to Troutman. They committed to Ingram. They've committed to Kroll. I don't think there's any room for an Njoku type veteran. Maybe a rookie. They draft a rookie. I could definitely see that, but I don't think there's room for an Njoku type player in this tight end room as constructed.
Right. I would definitely agree with that. If there is a guy that's out there, and we've talked about him a few times on the show, the inside linebacker from Texas Tech, Jacob Rodriguez. Not only is he just a stud, watch him play at Texas Tech the last couple years, and just to see the kind of player he is, 3-down guy, not the biggest guy in the world, but definitely great instincts, always around the ball carrier, has a great backstory. I believe his wife is a Black Hawk helicopter pilot.
Jeez.
deeply spiritual guy. I mean, they have like a prayer time right before a game every Saturday at Texas Tech.
Love it.
But take all that aside. Jacob Rodriguez is a personal favorite of mine. There's already been a couple things. I guess the Broncos have interviewed him at the combine. Not that necessarily means anything.
He's the inside linebacker prospect, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And as we all know, I am also trying to get onto team inside linebacker with Jared.
We'll take everyone.
You're
there. Accepted.
Okay, perfect. Oh, there we go. I just needed to ask.
ILB bros. Yeah, no, it's all hands on deck, because totally agreed. That has been just a thorn in the side for the Broncos is inside linebackers. And it's crazy to think that a few weeks ago, I was already talking like players like Alex Singleton were gone, right? We figured there's just no reason, no way that he was going to stick around. Broncos are going to move on from him, and they go and they re-sign him. And I love the guy, and I think he has a ton of great qualities, but there's holes, right? There are gaps, and you got to worry about some of those situations. And I think, like Fravel here says again, like we cannot run it back with the same tight end room. Sorry, Adam. I know that means Lucas Kroll as well. But it kind of seems like that's what we're going to have to do, right? I mean, we'll see who we draft. There's still Caleb Lohner. Guys, do not forget about Caleb Lohner.
I will defend Lucas Kroll like he is one of my children, okay?
Caleb Lohner. Get you a fan base that will fall in love with an undrafted player or a 7th-round rookie the way that this Denver Broncos will. I swear to God, I'm still upset about how much people were interested in Kyle Sloter. It still bothers me to this day.
How they were screaming for him to.
I remember it was like, man, you guys just want anything that's different, don't you? You don't care.
Yep, basically. Everyone has their good ideas, right? So let's see. Fravel says he's more of a college football guy than NFL, but outside the Broncos, which I totally agree with, and nothing wrong with that at all. It says Jacob Rodriguez is severely underrated in the draft. Was easily hands down, and it was not even close to be the best linebacker in college football last year. So that's definitely a name to watch. I don't know if they plan on having him go in the first round or whatnot, but there's going to be a lot of draft talk coming up here soon, because obviously there's going to be, how does this signing of Waddle impact how we're going to draft and how we're going to fill some of those needs still. Tight end is definitely a huge situation. I think we have the pieces there, mainly Ingram, if we can figure out how to utilize the guy, right? That's the big thing. If we utilize him right, I don't think there's going to be all this talk about tight ends, but that inside linebacker is definitely a key to helping this defense kind of just stay dominant from what we've seen. Now, hold on, I'll go to David, Mr. Spotty's comment here. So after later in the draft, Max Clare from OSU was projected to be first round last year. So he was a tight end as well.
I'll tell you, I don't have a lot of names as far as tight ends in this draft go, like individual names, but I will say that Dane Brugler, who does the draft, the beast, the biggest draft guide out there for The Athletic. I think he tweeted the other day that he had more gradable tight ends or more draftable tight ends graded for this draft class than he's ever had. So it is a deep class, and I am really hopeful that the Broncos, they have fewer picks now, but I still hope they choose to pick one with one of their first 3 picks this year.
Yeah. Would not be surprised. And look, it could be one of those things where, we don't have a 3rd round right now, but make some trades, get a 3rd round back.
They still have all of their picks from next year, as we talked about. They have 2 4th-round picks right now. You could package those into a better 3rd-round pick. Anything, you got lots of options on the table still.
Lots of, and moving up 11 spots, you said in the 4th round there. That's a lot better, right? Especially if you're trying to package them together. Sean asked, did Bobby Wagner get signed? I don't think so. And
no,
even then,
he did. He went back to the Commanders.
He
he signed.
I missed that.
Yep.
Cool. One, it was kind of yeah, here you go from Jesse. Think Crosby would take $5 million? Now, I bring this up because I know we're kind of nearing the end of the show, but I do want to bring this up because of how momentous of a failure on the Raiders' part this really was. And I'm not saying that I foresee Max Crosby going to the Broncos, right? I don't think the Raiders would allow that to happen. However, what do you guys, now that we are like a week removed from that whole situation, or almost a week, and what are the Raiders going to do? Like, we saw that they stacked up on defense and stuff, but they got to be in some salary cap issues now. Like, what are they going to do with Max Crosby? Because that guy definitely doesn't want to stay with the Raiders. So what is that going to look like?
Well, he's saying all the right things. That he's a Raider for life and yada yada yada. I think it's kind of funny that, like, he wanted to leave. He basically said that the culture around the team sucked. He wanted to go somewhere else. He didn't feel appreciated there. He was pissed that they shut him down for the year. And now he's like, oh, I'm a Raider for life. La, 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 la. It's almost like when your girlfriend doesn't like you anymore, and you realize that your wife is the love of your life still. So you got to realize that, or you got to, when you go crawling back, you got to, put on a good face. From everything that the Raiders said is that they are going to honor all the contracts that they signed before they had to take Crosby back. But the biggest piece in that is that the Raiders are in full rebuild mode and really could have used those 2 first-round picks for something else. And now they don't have that. And whatever you want to say on how, slimy or sleazy the Ravens were for reneging on the whole thing, they, what if Max Crosby really is damaged goods a little bit, and now the Raiders are stuck with him? So I mean, I don't wish anything good for the Raiders to happen, but if anybody got hosed in the whole deal, it was the Vegas Raiders, and I'm 100% here for it.
Well, I'll say this. I was of that attitude a few days ago as well. Where I'm at right now is careful what you wish for, Broncos country. Because right now, I think the chances are better that Max Crosby plays for the Raiders than he plays for somebody else next season. And whether in the long term his knee is hosed or not, I feel like he's got plenty of gas left in the short term. And we know how well Max Crosby plays against Denver historically. So even if we only have to put up with another 2 or 3 years of him playing at a truly elite level as a Raider, I would have much rather seen him potentially once a year or once every 4 years than twice a year. But that's the NFL, baby.
That's a great point, David. That's a great point.
I do want to end on this question. I think it's a good one. And kind of just to wrap up our conversation from today, what are our thoughts on Broncos media defending these re-signings as a great culture fit, great locker room guy? We loved Philip Lindsay, but left him out in the cold. I think my big pushback against that is it wasn't Sean Payton that decided to move on from Philip Lindsay. Like this was in the time of us. I don't think
George Payton was here either.
Yeah, like this wasn't in the time of the Broncos having a good culture. This was the time of the Broncos sucking year in and year out, going through quarterbacks and head coaches like they were freaking candy, right? Like it was absolutely ridiculous. So this is a totally different team, totally different front office. The thing they've built, guys, is absolutely beautiful to see. So I'm good with, hey, if we need we didn't really upgrade in position, but we have this guy who we know what he brings to the table, both on the field and in the locker room. If we can retain that kind of culture that got us to be the number 1 seed this year, winning 14 games, basically just a freak accident away from getting to the Super Bowl, I'm here for it. I'm here for it all day. What do you guys think?
To me, I would say that, I mean, I want to speak to the kind of, I think the larger point that Fravel is getting at, which is that, like, it's all well and good when a team says, oh, this guy's a great culture fit. But we've seen the team be all business and not really as interested in that kind of intangible qualities before, like with Philip Lindsay. And to that, I would just say, it's the NFL and every team operates that way. But what we've seen with the Broncos this offseason specifically is that their actions are matching the words. Like if they really like if these guys that we're talking about, Adam Prentice, Adam Troutman, these guys who were free agents and got re-signed, the Broncos could have let them go somewhere else if they really didn't think that was, if they thought, oh, well, we're just going to say it's a culture fit and this is a great team guy, but we don't really feel that strongly about him. They could have just let him walk. Instead, they made an effort to re-sign these guys. And I think that's what really speaks more to their intentions and their true feelings than anything.
For me, now there's an inherent risk when you go and you try to sign free agents, going to the draft, when you have an unknown quality or an unknown variable, there's always an inherent risk to that. However, I would like to just kind of present maybe just a little bit different way of looking at it, in that there is an inherent risk with rewarding free agents that are just a year older. And that was really my biggest complaint with the lack of activity and going and upgrading spots in free agency. I don't really have too much of a problem with bringing back Dobbins. They needed a first and second down guy. They can still go draft somebody to fill in for Dobbins if and when he gets hurt. But I mean, the biggest whiff for me was re-signing Alex Singleton and re-signing Justin Sternad. I mean, we all love Singleton, and I've had many conversations with many different people about Alex Singleton. He is a great guy. He is the defensive heartbeat of the team. He is also very, very average when it comes to the pass, and he's just a year older. Justin Sternad, again, marginal starter, and he's a rotational guy. He's not even a full-fledged starter. Yet the Broncos saw enough in the culture and in what they bring, maybe intangibles wise, to bring them back. I personally didn't care for either one of the re-signings, but again, I mean, it's hard for me to have an argument when they keep pushing all the right buttons. So, I mean, I've been wrong before. I know it happens rarely, but rarely. But I mean, if I'm proven wrong again, I'll eat my words. And to your credit, David, Adam Troutman, Adam Prentice, Adams are just good guys. We're just good dudes. We're good dudes. We're ballers.
Unbiased reporting right there. Totally unbiased reporting. I love it.
Totally unbiased.
Hey, we're going to get to our closing thoughts really quick, guys, so don't go away. We have a few short things left to say, and they could be monumental. They could be mind-blowing things. They could be things that you're like, I never thought of it that way, and now my whole perception of the world is different, so you're not going to want to miss it. First off, guys, I know the show is ending, and there's still tons of questions coming in, and I absolutely love it. You're going to want to be here next Tuesday when we do another episode of Bourbon, Broncos, and No BS. Every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, we take your comments and your questions, breaking down the latest information, the latest news, cutting through all that bull crap, all that clickbait online that we see in social media. No, Bo Nix is not part of any trade package due to Sean Payton's weird behavior, right? These things are crap, right? You're not going to find that here. You're going to be here every Tuesday night for Bourbon, Broncos, No BS, as we talk about things in the most. Yes, we're fans. I get it, but we're going to give you the stuff that is confirmed and give you our opinions on it as best we possibly can. Fravel, man, you're awesome. You're the winner of the night for subbing, dude. You're fantastic. Make sure everybody out there, if you got Broncos, you got friends that are Broncos fans, tell them about us. Make sure they like, subscribe, share this page, get more Broncos fans in here, because the more people we have, the better the conversation, the better the shows. And that's why we do this stuff, is for you guys. So make sure you keep sticking around and coming back every Tuesday night for more stuff. Also, make sure you go on over to broncosandbourbon.com. Sign up today for free still and see the latest video, the latest show, the latest podcast. Adam is still doing his weekly kind of newsletter right now. He does articles during the season. So if you want to get even more information and be able to chat about it that way as well, head on over there, sign up. And that website is eventually going to get retooled a little bit. Again, this is me. I'm not a computer or internet or website designer of any kind of way, shape, or form. So I don't know what I'm doing. It'd be like me trying to, stitch together a new puffball for David. It would just turn out really ridiculous and bad, and David would probably never wear it, even though it was made with love. So I'm doing my best
to you and make you wear it every single show. Display your shame, Kev Dan. Display your shame.
So head on over to the website, guys. Sign up now and get in on that action as I continue to build that out. But yeah, those are the big main things, guys. And so let's close out the show as we go around the room and give our closing thoughts. Broncos, big signing today. We're all going to be doing the waddle here before too long, waddling in the stands whenever he scores a touchdown. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. I am excited to see it, guys. Adam, we started with you to begin with. So David, let's start with you this time around and give you closing thoughts first, man. What you got in your mind?
I guess my biggest closing thought is that I was really not that upset with the Broncos offseason thus far. I get the brouhaha about not signing a new free agent, but it just felt all along like the team had a deliberate plan, and it wasn't, we kept seeing them drop little breadcrumbs, right? The Quinn Miners contract restructure, things like that said, well, the team's freeing up cap space, and they're not freeing up cap space that they don't need if they're not going to do anything this offseason. And, so it felt like they were building, and once they finally executed it, they paid a high cost, but they got a player that is going to fit precisely with their on-field needs, fit precisely with their offense, and take them hopefully to another level of consistency next season. And I am just incredibly excited that we have a front office and a coaching staff that has once again displayed a level of competence that is enough to win you a Super Bowl. That whether or not the other ingredients are there this season, we have yet to see. It's a long off season yet and a long season to come. But at least the ingredients are there from the front office perspective and the coaching staff perspective. They know how to push the right buttons.
Love it, man. Adam, buddy, what do you think, man?
So I know that I am probably the more easily perturbed about some of the stuff I see online. I've been told that you cannot take everything so personally. And to them, I say, I'm going to take this one personally. Seeing some of the odds, again, these are the opening season odds for who will be in the title game next year. And I am just going to say that I feel a little disrespected. And I feel disrespected because the Chiefs, who have no secondary right now and just traded their best secondary player, are like a plus 1,000 to get back to the Super Bowl. The Chargers are ahead of them at like plus 900. The Denver Broncos, who, again, and I'm preaching to the choir, were one freak injury away from probably playing in the Super Bowl, were nowhere to be found. So I'm just going to say, when we start when Bo starts slinging the ball all over the yard, and Jaylen Waddle is waddling his way all the end zone, and RJ Harvey is running wild all over the place, and our defense is just as good as they were last year, I am not going to be a very gracious winner. I'm just saying right now. I'm gonna talk my junk, and it's gonna come in waves. So you've been warned.
You've been warned. We've all been warned. I love it. Scott here, brand new Broncos fan. Welcome to Broncos Country. Welcome to Bourbon Broncos No B.S. Hope we see you here every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. David, appreciate the feedback. Great show. It's only great because you guys are here. Look, Broncos making a move. I can't even say they're making moves. They're making a move. There might be more on the way. There might be more information for us to talk about next week. And either way, we'll be talking here next week and just hanging out with you guys. But this team, they're onto something. They really are. With Bo Nix at the helm, with the defense the way it is, we're getting back. Defense coordinator is the same. We're changing up some of the play calling on offense to improve that. You just got to think this team's going to get better. And if they're better than last year, dude, other teams better watch out. And if you want to count us out already, go for it. That's fine. I'm fine with it. It's just let us fly under the radar, right? Let's hope that we don't need any fourth quarter 33-point comeback games to come away with a win. I do want to see.
So tired of it. Like, man, I don't think they want it any more than fans want it.
And that is to say, it doesn't matter if you're a fan of 50 years or a fan of 1 year. Do not stop watching the game until the game is fully over. Do not count out the Broncos. Do not be somebody that leaves the stadium because you think the Broncos are going to lose at the, near the end of the third quarter. This team knows how to fight. And that's just going to continue moving forward. And especially when you have the same group of guys together, it's going to be great, guys. So it's only March, it's mid-March. I know it's a long way till the start of the season, but it'll be here before you know it. And it's going to be fantastic to watch. Adam, sir, David, sir, thank you guys very much for joining me tonight. You guys are great co-hosts, as always. Love talking to you. Everybody in the comments, from the new guys to the OGs, so the guys that have been here for a long time. Appreciate all of your support. Continue coming back, and we will see you here next week. But with that being said, I got nothing left to say other to end this show, as we always do, with a very strong Go Broncos!
Go Broncos!
Go Broncos!
Take care, guys. We will see you later.
Do what I like, yeah, I do what I like, yeah, I do what I like. Sip and go, sip is right, and I go with the flow.